Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to be doing an audiophile build at about $200 and $300. I recently asked on a community poll what you guys wanted to see. You voted about 60% for the $300 and about 40% for the $200. So I decided to combine them and do both. Now today's setup is pretty flexible and I have a lot of different options, a lot of areas where you can really save some cash and a lot of areas where you can actually get really good bang for your buck products and some little tricks and tips along the way. Okay, so the main build for today that this whole thing is going to be off of is going to be this Xduoo Link2. Now, I figured the purpose for this build would be both an at-home and a mobile setup, so I thought it'd be fun to include an open back headphone for at home and an IEM for when you're on the go. So this Link2 has a very similar form factor to something like a Dragonfly, which a lot of you are familiar with from AudioQuest, except this one has some legitimate benefits over something like an AudioQuest. One, it's got USB-C in and it comes with a USB-C to USB-C cable, as well as a USB-C to Lightning cable. So this will work with either Apple or Android phones. It will work with your computer, your iPads, your tablets, laptops, all that fun stuff. I'll tell you more about this in just a second here. Now I want to get to the headphones that you could use. So if we're going for a $300 price point, and that's a strict level, I think that you should get the SHP 9500s for about $75. Quick note on this in a second. And to finish off the standard build, I thought that the Moondrop Starfields were a good choice for an IEM. They look really cool, they seal pretty well, but most importantly, for $110, they sound awesome. So these are $110. The Xduoo is $110 and the 9500s are $75, coming in at a little bit under the $300 budget. Okay, now we get into why I recommend these products and where you could save a little bit of cash and what your alternative options are. Okay, so the Xduoo, why is it better than the Dragonflies? Well, it's better in certain ways. It doesn't measure as well, but it has additional features that may be beneficial to the right person. One, it's got playback controls like volume up, volume down, play and pause. But two, it actually has a soundstage switch and a bass boost switch. So the soundstage option I don't really like. It basically makes the soundstage a little bit more in front of you, but also more narrow. And I think that it's a little bit more immersive having the sound be a little bit wider, even if it's more on the sides, although some people do prefer a more forward image and this actually allows for that. Now the bass boost is fairly strong, so I figured it would be better to match this with headphones that don't have a lot of bass to begin with, like the 9500s and like the Starfields. Both have really good performance for mid-range in their price tags, but the bass is a little dry, so this makes it a little bit more fun if you want it. They also both have pretty good sound staging, so you can really kind of play around with that sound staging switch if you want to. Now, a system like this is basically designed just to be better than the onboard audio that you would have in your phone or your laptop or your computer. A little bit cleaner of a signal. This is handling all of the processing for the DAC and all the amplification, only drawing power from whatever device you have plugged into it. Okay, that being said, I think there are some major areas where you could save some costs and even get better results depending on what you want with this thing. For example, these guys right here are Apple dongles, and this is a USB-C to 3.5 millimeter and a lightning cable to 3.5 millimeter. Now these things, despite how small and tiny they are actually DAC and amplifiers within themselves, and the measurements actually compete with things in this price range. It doesn't have as much power as the Xduoo does, but within its power range, if you're using efficient headphones like we selected for this build, this can actually drive those headphones and IEMs really, really well. These are actually a really well-engineered low-key option for phone users, and coming in at $10, they're super low risk, and honestly, they sound really great if you pair them with really efficient stuff. So I have an even further build that we could do here. Let's say you needed a lot of power. Let's say you already have existing headphones that are hard to drive, but you don't have a DAC, you don't have an amplifier, you're using onboard audio already. What is going to sound better? Well, if you're using a computer, a lot of modern motherboards and chassis do have USB-C out, so you can use this, and it would also work with your Android phones and your Apple phones alike, so you have a lot of potential options as long as you have the ports for it. But I would actually recommend picking up a 3.5 millimeter to RCA cable and buying a Magni Heresy for $100. Total investment is $110, but then you continue the spec cleanliness into the Magni, but you get like 2.4 watts into 32 ohms, which is more than enough to drive the vast majority of headphones out there today. So you could get the dongle and Magni setup for $110, or you could get the Xduoo for $110, just depending on what you need and which headphones you have and how much upgradability you want to have in the future. Now that system isn't going to be as clean or as mobile because the Magni is going to require some external power, but it still works and you still get a lot of variability in terms of sound quality and power for just $110. A lot of people don't think about those Apple dongles as DACs, but if you're on a budget, they're pretty hard to beat, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, one last note on these things. Make sure that you get the Apple branded ones. Don't go aftermarket. They may be a little bit cheaper, but they're not gonna be that much cheaper, and the sound difference is noticeable and the spec difference is measurable. These things, for example, the Apple ones actually have a lower total harmonic distortion than the Xduoo does at 10 times less cost. But the Xduoo has a lot more power and of course the alternative options like the line control and the bass boost. Okay, on the headphone side, I have some recommendations and some other options that you could consider. One, if you wanted to get this sound, the SHP 9500 sound, but sounding a little bit better and a little bit more perfected, I would actually look at the SHP 9600. It does put us slightly over budget at $90 versus the $75, bringing us just a couple bucks over $300. But I think the extra $15 is 100% worth it. Every issue that I have with the 9500 being a little light on bass and a little bit sharp in the S region is fixed on this headphone, but you keep all the other benefits like the excellent mid-range for the price range, the good sound staging, and I even think that this one is a little bit more comfortable. Now, if you want to do a $200 price point, I would get the SHP 9600s and either the Magni and the dongle setup or the Xduoo Link2, and that's going to put you right at that $200 price category, and that sound quality is going to be awesome. Now, the 9600 isn't going to really take advantage of the Magni. It doesn't need that much power, and the Xduoo is just fine for it. But if you do get the Magni, you have better upgradability potential overall. Though, here's a quick note on some upgradability options in the future. So this is sort of a ridiculous example, but it's just to prove a point that if you're smart with what headphones you upgrade to, you may not even have to upgrade from the Xduoo for a while, even if you go to the extremes. So this is a Hyphaman HU1000 SE. The price tag for this is about $3,500. Now, this headphone is a gigantic planar magnetic headphone. Now, these headphones are typically very difficult to drive with amplifiers, requiring a lot of the times real legitimate amplifiers to run them properly. But this headphone was designed from the ground up to be a very efficient headphone and run off of not a lot of power. So this Xduoo with his headphones sounds phenomenal and better than a lot of headphones at cheaper price tags. Just because of the design of the headphone itself. Now, to be clear, will you get more out of this headphone by going to bigger and better amplifiers? Of course you will. But the point is that even without it, it still sounds awesome. And not only does the sound very complete with actually really nice bass response, excellent staging capability, but I actually can't push that amplifier to full volume on an average song because it's too loud for me. But the main point is that if you are smart with your upgrades down the line, you have a lot of potential without having to upgrade your entire system. Okay, now the Starfields are a IEM that I picked because it was really mid-range centric for the sound quality, and it also was a little bit light on bass. So it had really good mids for the money, but not that great of bass for the money, and the bass boost option of the Xduoo fixes that. Now, fortunately, if you don't like Moondrops, there are a ton of options between $50 and $100 that you can even buy two $50 IEMs. Like you want to get some of the 10s and the KZs, you can get two pairs for the same price as this, or you can go up in cost and get something equivalent to this price. Really, there's a lot of options that you could pick, and they all sound really good. Okay, final scenario here. You have $300 and you only really listen at home, so you just want a good pair of open back headphones and a good amplifier. Now, this again is a build where I would recommend the Xduoo because the bass boost. I'm gonna recommend the HD 560Ss from Sennheiser coming in at $200. So for about $310, you get one of the best treble performing headphones at this price category. You get excellent sound staging, pretty good mid-range response, and with the bass boost of the Xduoo, you will get pretty good bass response out of this guy. Though be careful not to drive it too hard because you can bottom out the drivers on these units if you push the bass a little bit too much. All right. That's going to be it. Lots of options in this price category, lots of flexibility, lots of places to save a little bit of money, lots of places to spend a little bit extra money, a lot of potential things to think about if you guys are looking at picking up a $300 or $200 setup. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for watching. And until the next video, my name is Josh, signing off. Bye.